Oh, it started? Oh, shit.
Orgasm!
Normally there's like a little countdown, like it dings in my ear or something.
Instead, we just start with, oh, shit.
No. All right, I'm gonna start now. I'm gonna do all the preamble stuff, and then I'll introduce you guys, and then we're gonna talk about fireworks because I've gotten a great conversation about it this weekend because our childhoods were dangerous. All right. Welcome back to the weekly hangover edition of Dude You Podcast. We're not doing this live on Saturdays as we normally do it. You can find us on the site and on social media. Noon on Saturdays, going over the week's sporting events. Due to intense amounts of patriotism last weekend, we missed our hangover. We missed it the weekend before because I was drunk in Boston, but that's neither here nor there. Today, we're giving you a new hangover. It's going to be a little bit longer, a little more bang for your buck. First of all, we are Dude You Podcast. Find all our writings at dudeyoucrazy.net. Find the podcast at Stitcher and iTunes. Click that subscribe button for us. It really helps the podcast. And while you're at it, leave a 5-star review. Say whatever you want. We'll read it on the air. As of, I guess, yesterday, we have an email address now, dudeyouPodcast@gmail.com. Email in your questions, comments, anything longer than a 5-star review. Write in, make fun of us, call Chad an intern, whatever you want to do. And I want to point out something Chad wrote today. Chad Floyd wrote an article that was complimentary in a way, but in some way backhanded nerds and geeks. As a self-professed nerd, Avengers broke the box office, so I won. Nerds have inherited the earth. This is the status quo now. The Star Wars kid who can catch footballs is going to become less and less rare. That's all I'm saying. With that, I'll introduce our first guest host, co-host Chad Floyd, Chad_Floyd on Twitter. What's up, Floyd?
I regret nothing.
Yet.
That's
also
on the introduction. I got nothing.
I like that. It's concise. Let's see if we can get the same thing out of Mr. Long-Winded Soccer Writer. Jason Smith. Jason is a Smith on Twitter. What up, Jason?
Hi.
Oh, see, now you're showing me the point. And what may or may not be our first ever 4-man pod, we get to look in the actual archives for that, which would be like looking on iTunes, which is apparently too hard for us. Editor-in-Chief, Dude You Crazy, Andrew Hall at Dude You Crazy on Twitter. What's up, Andrew?
Not much, man. I feel like I'm just being all kinds of taken care of right now. Chad made me ribs the other day. You made an email for the podcast. Jason Smith showed up for a foregasm. I mean, things are just happening for me right now.
And if you have the under 5 minutes for Andrew making an orgasm joke, collect the money around the bar. Before we get
orgasm pun.
Sorry, pun. It's not a joke. You're right. It's my fault. Before we get into the sports stories of the last week and a half, can we talk about fireworks for a second and how prevalent they've been in our lives and just what a bad idea that was? I was talking. We were sitting outside watching the fireworks on the 4th, and the noise was freaking out my giant Rottweiler. And to be honest, with all the buildings, it was a lot louder than I was used to. But it made me think, like as a kid, like we played Roman candle tag. We shot Roman candles at each other. That's not good. Do any of you guys have any notable fireworks stories from youth that would render it remarkable that you're of both sound mind and body today?
There's nothing remarkable that happened with this, but I always like the 5th of July fireworks when people either get too drunk to shoot them off on the 4th or, just they lose their appeal. Last night we actually had 6th of July fireworks in my neighborhood, which ended up being about 5 cops called to our premises while I was laying in bed.
Sure.
I think people definitely overbuy. At times they over-imbibe when they're actually shooting off fireworks, so I've heard some stories of that in the past, but thankfully nobody I've heard of has gotten killed by them yet this year.
That's a knock on wood if I ever heard one. Jason, my thing is, like, the idea that we even played with fireworks as a kid is insane to me. Like, I see a little kid with a sparkler today as 28-year-old Daniel, I'm like, oh my god, the kid's going to burn itself to death. Like, there were cherry bombs, there were smoke bombs, there were M80s that were literally just bombs. It wasn't a firework, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't exciting, it exploded, and that was the entire appeal.
I think the whole problem, too, for us for 4th of July was you would buy way too much, and then at a certain point your parents were like, we've got to leave. And so, of course, as Chad was saying, the people who have over-imbibed didn't have the idea, hey, you know what we should do? let's just put all the rest of these damn fireworks in a box and just light the box on fire. And so that, and by the way, that phenomenon of lighting the whole box on fire was replicated in Tennessee 2 days ago, I'm pretty sure, when an entire fireworks store off I-75 blew up because all the fireworks got lit at the same time in the store. So go Vols. Our state is great.
Jason Smith with another window into his terrifying childhood. Andrew, I think the thing I got the most legs out of as an adult and as a kid were smoke bombs and stink bombs. We actually we were sitting at the Hudson Grill in Brookhaven one time and put a stink bomb in the hood of my friend's sweatshirt and didn't tell him, and we cleared out that entire patio. We actually way overtipped the bartender because we're sorry we ran off all your business, but I find that fireworks are still fun as a semi-adult.
Yeah, I mean, I think even at my age, I can enjoy the little poppets. I might or might not have taken a box of those to the office on the 3rd of July and thrown them at our compliance officer. And that kind of thing, good, clean fun. You get kind of this pseudo gunpowder residue all over the place, but that's what cleaning companies are for.
And that's what I love about poppets. It was like a rudimentary introduction to guns. Like if I throw it on the ground, a little bit of it, it makes a loud noise. Now you put a lot of it and you put it in a cylinder, it's just like an introduction to propulsion, and that's the nerd in me for now. Let's start off with I guess Jason Smith's his baby for the summer, or his baby for life, but it's become readily apparent on the site this summer. I believe that we should be lukewarm about our round of 16 finish, Jason.
Yeah, I guess. My whole thing was I was so pumped that we got out of the group of death that anything after that was a bonus. So like seeing Julian Green's first goal, I was really happy to get to see that in that round. I think in a way Alexi Lawless is right. The U.S. still struggles with the same 3 things, but we struggle with them in a way that makes you think we're actually going to fix them sometime soon. Whereas in previous World Cups, it's been like this is how we're going to be forever and ever. Amen. So yeah, I feel a little lukewarm, but also think about the teams that you played. I mean, you played Ghana, Portugal, Germany, and Belgium, who are all veritable soccer powers. I mean, hell, France beat up on pretty much nobody in their group and still managed to make it to a quarterfinal. It's just a tough draw. And you wonder what this team could have done with a better draw and a healthy Josie Altidore.
Is it a fair analysis to say that while we're not at the perennial soccer power level yet, but people are noticing us, and it's gone from, oh, they're kind of adorable to, hey, we should actually look at some tape for these Americans?
I think so. I mean, I think a guy to watch is DeAndre Yedlin. So DeAndre Yedlin came in for Fabian Johnson, and I don't want to get too soccer-y right now on this podcast because, it's been my baby for the summer. It'll be my baby afterwards, but, but we don't want to get too deep in the soccer. But let me just tell you this.
I was going to see how far I can get you to take it.
Yeah.
That was
Mariah Carey there for a second.
Let's see how bad I can get him to break this down for us.
That guy, or Yedlin, came in for a guy who was really good, right, as a sub, and he played really well.
Now, is Yedlin the guy that looks like the honey badger?
Yes, Yedlin is the U.S. men's national team version of the honey badger, absolutely. He also lays people out, which is another excellent comparison. But so, anyways, Yedlin is now on the free agent market in international soccer, and there's tons of rumors about where he's going to go and who's going to sign him. His where he ends up and how high a prestige of a team it is will kind of be the metric for how him and Matt Beasler, who's another defender, will be the metric of how much the world has taken notice of this team.
Thanks. I have nothing to add to that. I know Chad doesn't either. Andrew, what is your perspective on the men's soccer team? Someone who knows very little about soccer. I want to hear the contrast.
Oh, man, soccer's the best right now.
It's still happening. The U.S. is out. I thought soccer was over, right? What was that? Oh.
Are we having a whole auto-tune to where Floyd might have to step it up here?
Auto-tune out of Andrew Hall. I hope that makes the podcast. We want the next topic, I guess. Did anyone actually watch Wimbledon this weekend besides me?
No.
No.
Oh, come on.
The full cycle of like the once every 4.
Well, that distended ghost of a man you hear in the background
Man,
is Andrew
I got
Hall.
into the U.S.
You will
men's
miss
team
him.
enough to
There he goes. His picture just left. All right. So no one's talking about Wimbledon. I will say this: my mom likes Federer and I like Djokovic, and I'm glad Federer lost. I'm not sure what's happening right now with Andrew Hall. Did anyone watch UFC this weekend? They do their big double cards on 4th of July weekend. Chad? No?
I had to look up who Ronda Rousey was, but
Oh, my
but she
goodness.
Muhammad Ali, that girl.
It was
A
absurd.
bust thing breaking in her hand. That was just kind of gross.
Okay, so for people who don't follow UFC or MMA at all,
Who actually follows UFC?
that's why I'm explaining it. Ronda Rousey is the first bantamweight women's champion in the UFC's history. She has literally tore through anyone they put in front of her. I think all 10 of her fights have ended in the first or second period. She's got everyone tapped to her armbar. She legitimately terrifies me because I think if she and I were to even joke around, she'd just break my arm and leave me crying. On Saturday night, she had her latest challenge that ended in 16 seconds. Two great hooks to the chin, to a headlock, and then pounding until she was knocked out. It was the single most dominating sports performance I've ever seen. Jason, have you seen the GIF of this fight? Because the fight is GIF-like. It entirely fits in one bind. It's amazing.
Yeah, I've seen the GIF, and and honestly, GIFs don't help UFC function because I feel like that GIF makes me go, see, I don't need to follow UFC. I get all the entertainment of that fight from this 10-second little GIF. But yeah, Twitter was abuzz about that fight, and even though I wasn't watching it, I definitely checked out the GIF of, the lady kicking the crap out of the other lady.
I go to Jason Smith for my MMA analysis. Andrew, are you back?
I think. I don't know. Can you hear me?
No, he's not. All right, I gave it a shot. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Wow.
Did you see anything about Ronda
Talk
Rousey
about-
destroying?
How'd you talk about a fighting sport without making a WWE network plug?
If you think the show's over, you're wrong. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's a long show. Let's go to the last thing here. Target Field, the home of the All-Star Game. Here's your baseball thing, Chad. I'm talking about baseball. They're going to be installing beer taps in the bleachers. Just open beer taps anyone can use. Bad idea, worst idea, or great idea?
Great idea.
Why? Defend your great idea. This sounds terrible to me.
There's so much free money for the Twins where they're not even pouring beer for it. So you can buy money in the $10, $20, or $50 amounts that you then swipe the card for the beer machine, and if somebody appears overserved, they can stop the person from getting beer. At which point the Twins are making free money. This is also less.
So they're going to cut off people who've been overserved for the first time in the history of overserving?
Well, they can cut off people who have been overserved who have put $50 on their beer ticket and maybe have only gotten 3 beers out of it. Still have $20 worth of beer left to get, and then not come back to the Twins game for the rest of the year.
3 beers might be $50. Jason, is this a good idea, bad idea, or worst idea?
Well, 38 cents is a 25-ounce beer for $10, I think.
And the math portion of DG Podcast starts.
There you go.
Jason, good idea, bad idea, or worst idea?
I don't know about good idea or worst idea or even bad idea, but I can say that it's going to be location based for me. So it's a great idea where they're these in the Northwest and out west where there are these incredible, anywhere honestly in America where there are exceptional microbreweries that would put machines in. I am all for it. If it's just going to be Bud Light and Coors and the bleachers, I mean no offense to those beers, probably not the best idea, but obviously convenient. So. I waffle.
We've lapped the math portion and gone to the beer snob portion of the Hangover this week. This is really impressive. Going around the horn. Andrew Hall, good idea, bad idea, worst idea?
Best idea. I think it's fantastic. I saw that you can only get 48 ounces of beer per 15 minutes. So now we're going to be watching people really watch their clock, set their timer, things like that. And we're going to have its own sport that's actually entertaining to watch at a baseball game. It's going to be awesome.
Wow. Speaking of entertaining to watch, that was entertaining to hear. All right, reach halftime.
Down the speech as if to really emphasize how boring baseball is.
It really kind of form and function right there, Matt. Halftime, hypothetically speaking, you're reading a book when at some point you realize it's a book about your life. Things you've never told anyone to reference, and upon noticing this, you keep on reading. You then reach the point where you're having your life basically live blogged. Do you read the end of the book to see how your life ends, Jason Smith?
Nope.
That's it? No.
No, I'll tell you more. But I say there's so many philosophical, theological things I can drop.
It's not a
in there.
theological
I know, I can't do it. I
It's a
know.
hypothetical.
No, I don't. I don't read it. I just.
What if there's like 3 pages left?
If that's the case, then I probably do read it.
This is all
he could drop into like bullet points for all I know. You know, like I don't know what he's doing. I'm probably not going to read it just because even if it is 2 or 3 pages, I would rather not know how it's going to happen, just in case it like really sucks, so that it can just be over very quickly if it sucks really bad.
That's fair. I'm one of those people who I think there's a threshold to where I wouldn't read them. Like if it's like 50 pages, I could go without reading that. Like as we're getting towards like inside 30 pages, I'm getting a little antsy. I'm in the single-digit pages. I feel like I'm just too human not to look. Chad, would you look?
If it breaks into chapters and it has like little tab dividers for each chapter, I might flip ahead to a couple of those to see what's going on and see if it's even worth doing or if I can just stop it.
Chad's using his like Back to the Future, making Biff Tannen rich.
There's a great term called morbid curiosity. And I feel like that is pretty much the basis of this question, but I don't see a way where I don't at least dabble in my future a little bit, just because I'm morbidly curious.
That's fair. Andrew Hall, if you can make English words, let us know.
I will try. I would definitely read it. Absolutely. Did that come out?
You know what? You're perfect. You're on time. I'm glad we have to make that check after you talk now, though.
I would read the thing just so that I would know how I'd die, and then I could do every other possibly death-inducing activity around, knowing that, hey, that's not how I go.
See? That's a man playing to his strengths, using the knowledge in front of him to the best of his abilities. Let's move on to the second half of the show. LeBron. So it looked like when he opted out a couple weeks ago that it was going to be a formality. They restructured. Big Three's back in Miami. Reports say, and I know we can all make the sources joke, and my favorite part of Twitter right now is that if you search NBA sources, there's a 90% chance you get the meme with Chris Broussard and the googly eyes and the look at all my sources. But so 2010, no matter how you felt about the decision, it was a big deal. It kind of shaped the fortune of about 4 teams. This feels like it's bigger than 2010. And I don't know if it's because it's one of those things where you hype the newest thing more, or if it really just feels like there's more on the line because it looks like the door's more open because there's more teams with the cap space to get things done. Andrew, I know you're a lukewarm NBA guy at best. We're coming to you last, Chad, I promise. LeBron's basically the shadow GM of the entire NBA right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's kind of controlling everything. Yes.
Correct.
No, I think you're exactly right in that it's a bigger deal because you have more and more people trying to be factors in it. And even within Miami, it's not just LeBron, but you've also got the Bosch to Houston rumors and all these things going.
There's not what's going to be deals offered. That's not a rumor anymore.
Right.
They offered $96 million.
But that he's going or that he's entertaining it, I don't have these sources.
Chris Broussard does.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting because you also have like a really very real possibility that everyone stays put, and that's still very much on the table. And all of a sudden, you've got half a dozen scorned lovers across the NBA who are now even more bitter of the big three or of Carmelo, as it may be, or whoever, than even in the past. So I think it's definitely a bigger thing than it was last time.
It feels almost like because you see a lot of these teams who are angling for the big fish telling their smaller guys like, hey, man, just pump your brakes for a second. If this was me and I was an agent of one of these guys, this is when I would strike him and say, hey, look, make a qualifying offer. And it gives you a window and it changes your cap space, but it makes them show a commitment. It kind of forces people off the fence. Jason, I know you are even laxer of an NBA follower than Hall. Have you caught any of the ripples of this just in your normal sports consumption?
I will say that the main way that I have consumed it through GIFs or through memes, and the 3 that I would highlight for people would be, number 1, Lance Stevenson blowing as the wind, blowing LeBron back to Cleveland. You have to see that one if you have not seen it. Number 2, Chris Bosh as Kermit drinking tea in his Dream Team jersey, which is another exceptional one. And then I can't even think of a third one, but those two are like essential.
Just the Bosch one again.
I just got 2.
Jason just gave us the Miami Big 3 of gifts. There's really 2 of them.
Yeah. Wade, left on the sidelines. All right, Chad.
One just got blocked and fell down.
You and I got to talk about this. The Hornets lost Josh McRoberts today to the Heat.
Yeah.
Another spacing, passing big man in Miami, which has really got, I think, a 2-man roster right now of signed players. How do you feel about, one, your team dealing with what's essentially the Eastern Conference Devil these days? And 2, do you think this is attractive enough to start to bring back LeBron James?
You think Josh McRoberts and Danny Granger, who had a 3.9 player efficiency rating in the playoffs this year?
Don't get mad at me. I just asked the question.
No.
Well, Granger was a big factor
moves the
when
needle
LeBron was a free agent last time.
I don't know if that moves the needle for LeBron, but here's the interesting twist on it. Chris Bosh might now be the NBA's shadow GM because of the shadow he cast over LeBron's decision. If Chris Bosh takes the deal with Houston, LeBron's probably not coming back to Miami.
If you think Bosh takes that deal before LeBron makes a deal in Miami, you are insane. The thing about 2010 is all this happened.
$30 million to Chris Bosh. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is to the Heat's dynasty. This is $30 million that Chris Bosh could be leaving on the table potentially.
He's left it on there before. The thing about 2010 is it was a lot of the big pieces like this, but it felt like everything happened really quickly. Like the decision happened with that awful plaid shirt, and then all the other pieces kind of fell into place rather rapidly. This feels like it's going to be a bit more drawn out because LeBron, with the reports of him walking away from the table on last Thursday, everything's like, well, hold on. The Heat can't continue to up their roster until they know what it would cost them to get Bosh and Wade back, which they don't know that until LeBron comes back. They've got feelers out to Anthony Morrow and Luol Deng who are going to get scooped by other teams because they don't know what to do yet. And Chad, I can't leave the NBA without talking about your boys. The UNC Tar Heels, and Charlotte Hornets, because your boy P.J. Harrison can't keep his hands to himself. If you don't know the story, P.J. Harrison was playing pickup ball with, quote-unquote, college-age and high school-age players. Allegedly, he came down the court and dropped it right on young man's forehead. On the way back up the court, hit him again in the throat. We've all been on YMCA courts, not the friendliest places in the world, but it looks like charges are being filed, Chad. Chad, defend P.J. Harrison, former Tar Heel, current Hornet, apple of your eye.
Well, the bad move by P.J. Harrison there was punching somebody on a YMCA court in Durham and not being armed, because that is a scary, scary place to be punching people on YMCA courts. I can't really defend him except for the fact that the owner of his team is the fiercest competitor in basketball history.
That was my question.
And he could be. Yeah, you got a little long-winded leading into it, so I'll get long-winded getting out of it. You know what? YOLO. We don't need Lance Stevenson anymore. We got to have PJ the Enforcer Harrison. Let's go.
I was about to ask, as a man who has punched people in basketball games, would Michael Jordan appreciate this? But you handled that deftly. Jason, your sport recently had a biting scandal. What do you think about punching people in pickup games?
I mean, it can't be worse than biting them in pickup games, right? I mean, can we all agree that you would all right, here's a great would you rather. Would you rather be bitten by a guy or get faced by a guy on a YMCA pickup court in Durham? Let's say in Durham to make sure the qualifier is still there.
I'm taking the punch every day of the week.
Well, you can't use your hands in soccer.
For punching, you can. Let's just, or you can use your knees, because the guy from Colombia basically almost paralyzed Neymar the other night in the quarterfinal game.
In that guy's defense, Neymar's faked enough ailments where I didn't believe it until it was like, oh, he's missing next game. Oh, he must really be hurt. Like I was like, sure it is. Like bounce on that.
It was also a horrendously refereed game, by the way. Fun if you're watching it and you're neutral, because it was like a street ball rules.
We already soccered once.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I was trying to pull you back in.
Let's go back to what this podcast is actually about, Georgia football. Andrew Hall, you and I are both elated a couple weeks back when they announced the UJ Notre Dame game for I believe it's 17 and 18 home and home.
Yes.
What do you think this in the year 2014? Because you and I and a lot of people have written about the perception of Notre Dame and the reality of Notre Dame. In 2014, what's this game mean for the Bulldogs?
I mean, it probably sounds good in theory to recruits. We've got a handful of kids who will probably be making decisions about colleges at that point who were only like -20 when Notre Dame was last relevant. So that's going to be a big deal.
All right. Well, that was it.
That's all I got. I mean,
and step over the body. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's supposed to be a big deal. I mean, I think we'd all be, somewhat misspeaking if we said that this had any kind of implication like it would have said in the early 80s, even the early 90s. But at the same time, I guess it's cool to see Georgia play somebody different. I guess that's the positive.
Here's the one thing I would add to that, though. It's exceptionally positive for people who have tickets, who have season tickets, who can go see Notre Dame and also have access to away games. So, like, that's why I'm excited about it. Like, obviously, it's basically, I mean, it's another game against a Big Ten team, like a really crappy one most years. But it's a great college football venue to get the opportunity to go to, which is what I'm really psyched about.
Yeah, if you've never been to a game at Notre Dame, I highly suggest you consider making the trip in 17 or 19, whenever it is. It's just kind of one of those things that you just need to do. From a Georgia perspective, though, it continues the trend of Georgia being willing to play, major conference / Notre Dame-ish teams on the road, like when they played at Arizona State, the home and home. Colorado, a recent example, although Colorado sucked, although Colorado beat Georgia. But
that was uncalled for.
Yeah.
But, I mean, no other team in the SEC is doing that. I mean, Alabama plays their annual neutral site Atlanta game, and other than that, it's pretty much, Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina playing their in-state rivals, and everybody else playing Charleston Southern and Troy at home.
Let me pause and add another thing about other teams that play big teams. There is one other team that does it right now, and it's Tennessee, and they are not happy about it because they're getting the living crap beat out of them by every one of the teams. So, like, Tennessee adds Oregon home and home and gets shellacked both times. They added UCLA and got beat both times. They added Oklahoma this time, and Oklahoma is going to absolutely.
These schedules were made by Lane Kiffin. Like, this is when he was, like, increasing the national picture of Tennessee, and he left under the cover of night, and I think pitchforks, I'm sure there were some flames, too. It was all a very ugly scene, and now Lane Kiffin's on staff at Alabama who's just going to kick the doors off Tennessee this year, and I feel almost like this is all Lane Kiffin's fault.
And Jason, you of all people should know, since you live in Tennessee, this is the Vols' year, man.
Just like every other year, this is the Vols' year.
Look, there's a reason that everybody else coming up eventually in our previews, we'll show the polls that we did on where everybody's going to finish. I picked Tennessee to come in dead last. Like, absolute utter dead last at the bottom of the barrel, lower than Arkansas.
I hope you're right.
That'd be amazing.
I really do. I just think their schedule is so hard, they're just going to get the living piss beat out of them by every team they play. Like, I really don't think they're ever going to recover.
If they finish dead last, I'll be happier at some point in my life, just not previously.
Butch, please.
Just elated. Like, if Vandy just waxes Tennessee to end the season,
look,
just close it out.
I mean, maybe you believe in Butch Jones, but this team did not get more talented overnight. I mean, they got some decent recruits that might contribute, but right now their schedule is so difficult that, like, the most rosy glasses I've seen prediction for how well this team is going to do is like 500.
But they got Butch Jones overnight.
They haven't finished over 500 in 5 years, though. So, I mean, that's pretty rosy.
They're due, Chad, they're due. They're gonna run the table in the East. See, part of me, the logical part of me wants this to happen, like Jason said, because we're all Georgia fans. But I also kind of want Tennessee to win the East now, just to watch Jason's world unravel week by week. Just like more, like Chad said, morbid curiosity. I'm bringing it back. That's a morbidly curious thing about me is that if Georgia doesn't have a great season and Tennessee goes on a run, this would be the place to watch. Jason Smith just slowly fade to nothingness.
Yeah, because my father-in-law is a Tennessee grad, and he would not.
Did I just become a Vol fan?
I know.
I mean, Jake Howard had almost 500 yards of offense last year. Fact.
Why am I humming Rocky Top? This is amazing. Oh, the color orange isn't that bad. No, I think the whole thing about Notre Dame is, like Andrew said to start us off, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. This is a team that's flirted with relevance twice in the last 30 years. They, when they played Alabama, they got exposed for being Notre Dame, and the only reason they are still relevant is because they happen to have their own TV deal, one-man TV deal. But I think by 2016, they're just another ACC team that's going to get beat up by an SEC team. Because I think they'll have started an ACC split schedule by then. Our last topic, and I'm not going to get too personal with this. Can we talk about Hard Knocks as an institution? Like, why do we need this level of access to anything? I don't see cameras don't follow any of us around at work. Heaven forbid they followed me around in college playing football. I'm not saying that I'm terrified about the Falcon season. I just don't see why Hard Knocks exists.
Do you watch it?
Of course. I mean, I watch other teams. I don't think – I mean, of course I don't watch this year because I don't want to be the second guy who hears what Roddy White has to say and gets fired for and probably suspended for. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't watch every episode. So, yeah. I mean,
Chad, have the Ravens ever done Hard Knocks, Chad?
To my knowledge, no. But
yeah,
I didn't have HBO for like the first 6 years that Hard Knocks was on.
They did in the Billick years.
Yeah, they did.
See, and you can't. Oh, man, I don't know what to do. I want to talk to another fan.
Wait, so are you only now not a Hard Knocks fan because the Falcons are on it, Palmer? Let's get real here.
Yes, I'm.
Okay.
Someone said that's shallow and hypocritical. I don't care. Like, yes.
I mean, I'm less of a fan because I don't want to, as we said last time, I don't want to see Matt Ryan debate what type of jelly he wants on his PB&J because he think he's the most boring player in the National Football League.
First of all, it's always great. Man's a traditionalist and his jellies. It's not a joke. It's true.
Nah, he's a strawberry guy, so if he drops it, it doesn't show up on his jersey.
Wow.
I think he's pure peanut butter, no jelly.
I would say
wow. So you're calling him a serial killer.
Smooth peanut butter.
You think about a serial killer who, I guess, does that and then puts ketchup on hot dogs, which is the most demented thing that I saw over this holiday weekend.
What, ketchup on hot dogs?
What? You are insane. If you
I do that.
I mean, I put ketchup in my chili, which then goes on hot dogs.
I mean, my wife didn't marry me for my wiener eating. Just throwing that out there.
Wow, and now we've reached the abrupt end.
You know, after the 16-second Ronda Rousey thing, we didn't make a joke there. Hall's going to bring that into play.
Yeah, we took the high road, Chad. That's called the high road. Welcome to it. I know it's a very unfamiliar place for you. This has been the weekly hangover a day late.
Orgasm.
Once again, we're Dude Podcast. I'm Daniel Palmer. We got Chad Floyd, Jason Smith, and Andrew Hall. Our Twitter accounts are in the show notes. Find us on Stitcher and iTunes. Leave the 5-star reviews. Hit that subscribe button so you got to look for us every time we put one up. Email us at dudepodcast@gmail.com with questions, comments, concerns, threats towards Chad, anything else you really want to put on there.
Lots of those.
Lots of those. We're really expecting a real influx there. Have a great week. We'll be back later this week with, I guess, more talk. And there will be a hangover on Saturday. It'll be live. I promise.